Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, scholars. Welcome to today's lesson, lesson 1-2.3 on centralizing power in Europe. What I want to start our lesson with today is a quick reminder of how power in Europe has been fragmenting, that is, breaking apart since the Frankish kingdom. Under Charlemagne, we did have a very large, powerful empire in Europe. And under Louis the Pious, this continued. Most of Europe, most of Western Europe, was under the rule of a single leader. But within 100 years of the death of Louis the Pious, inheritance customs, civil war, a number of factors had really caused Europe to shatter to the point where we now had numerous nation states arising. Now, this increased fragmentation is really going to have a lasting impact on Europe. It causes European power to decrease as a whole because the struggle for power within Europe is expanding so greatly. We have many different territories that are contesting with each other for control of the old Frankish Empire. An example of this is that at its most divided, what we think of as Germany today was 1,800 political divisions. It was that fragmented. This map here really just shows some of the largest of those fragmentations. 1,800 is an awful lot of fragmentations. The empire has been shattered into little pieces. And without this unity, without this strength that comes with unity, Europe as a whole has just ceased to influence the world the way that it had prior to the Dark Ages, prior to the collapse of Charlemagne. Now, European warfare as a whole becomes a problem when we look at the expansion of Islam. If you're going to look at this as a contest between Christianity and Islam, Christianity has a huge disadvantage at this time because Europeans are so busy, so obsessed with fighting each other and for reasserting themselves as the next Charlemagne that the Islamic Empire can expand and consolidate its power. And Europe is just not in a position to roll back that Islamic expansion because Christian kingdoms are fighting each other. And an example of this is the expansion of the Seljuk Turks that rise to power and seriously threaten the Byzantine Empire, conquering large areas that used to be under Byzantine control. All of this used to be Byzantine control. And now the Byzantines are really just in control of Constantinople and the immediate area around that. The Byzantines are weakened, they're threatened, and if they fall, well, that opens the door to invading the rest of Europe. So keeping Byzantines in control there was important for Europe as a whole. Now, briefly, the Islamic Empire, and I mean ridiculously briefly. We should be spending an entire class on the Islamic Empire, many classes, a unit. We're going to talk about it in a slide really quickly, just to let you know that the expansion of Islam has been going on for a while. It did begin almost immediately in 610 with the advent of Islam from the Prophet Muhammad. And by 750, we have an Islamic Empire that controls a huge chunk of the world. All of North Africa, the Middle East, pushing into India, going north into, into Byzantine territory. The Islamic Empire is really expanding. This is while Europe is going through their dark ages. So it is a high time for Islam, a low for Christianity and Europe. But not really that low for Christianity. If we're going to separate our political from our religious examination of Europe, we actually see that through the Dark Ages, Christianity is doing pretty well. Christianity is stabilized. It is now an ingrained part of almost all of Europe. If you look at this map here, everything that's a dark orange is Catholic Christianity. The lighter orange is Orthodox Christianity, practiced out of Constantinople. And we even see these areas where it's mixing a little bit. We do still have some pagans. We do still have, some Islam in Europe, but mostly Europe has become Christian. And as people and rulers are, enmeshed in this feudal system, and they're shifting their political alliances, and they're in this warfare, whether or not you're a Christian or not is no longer a part of European warfare. We don't have Charlemagne invading Saxony to convert the pagans. Europeans are Christian. That's not part of the fight. They're unified in this. Now, the Pope knows that a divided Europe is going to struggle to contain a continued expansion of the Islamic Empire. With Muslim expansion, Europe might be threatened, might not be able to hold them back, and really need more powerful nations to control this. So centralizing power in European nations becomes one strategy for protecting this Christian faith. We're going to talk a lot more about Christianity coming up, but I do want to quickly introduce you to our special guest for today, because today we get to interview none other than the Pope. Welcome, Pope.
Thank you.
So I would love to have a long interview with you, but really there's just one question that our scholars have really wanted to know the answer to. What is your religion?
I, the Pope, am Catholic.
Thank you very much for being our guest today. That was our guest. And thank you very much, scholars, for this lesson. I'll see you next time.